Caitlyn Clark didn't enter quietly. She blew the roof off. The crowds, the cameras, the momentum, all of it shifted in her direction in days. That kind of rise doesn't just change the schedule, it changes people. Coaches tightened their smiles. Players adjusted their answers. The leaders with microphones didn't step forward to applaud, they stepped forward to manage. Some tried to shrink her moment, some tried to pivot the story, some made it about her tone instead of her talent, and a few went further, pushing lines you don't expect from those steering teams.
We'll be in there talking like this is what they did. I saw her and Melissa get into it the other day. Like it's a different generation.
It wasn't chaos, it was coordinated. The assignment was clear. Push back on Clark and see how much she could carry. The playbook showed up in the phrasing. Praises clipped short, compliments delivered with caveats. Physicality described as routine, heated exchanges relabeled as nothing. Some even questioned whether she fit the league at all. That isn't basketball analysis. It's a strategy, not to break down her game, but to box in her narrative. This was less about matchups and more about tone, power, and control. Who gets to define Caitlyn Clark? Listen carefully and you'll hear the disrespect between the lines, hidden behind tight wording and polite smiles. Meanwhile, Clark was taking contact on every cut, absorbing bumps after whistles and playing through it. But the conversation drifted. Analysts stopped asking why defenses loaded up on her and started asking if she talked too much. Benches echoed the pivot too. Instead of dissecting how to guard her reads and range, some coaches framed the story as generational noise. A neat way to dodge the real question: why is she dictating the game? Nobody talks more than Caitlyn. That line wasn't praise, it was irritation dressed as observation. Different generation, different tone. That's the code. Code for a young player setting rhythm. Older voices don't dictate. The truth, talking isn't the issue. The issue is what follows. She chirps, then
the application of marginal contact is so subjective for officials. We don't have that right.
splashes the next three. She chirps, then she threads the next assist. Jenna. She chirps, and suddenly your weak side collapses, giving her shooter a clean look. That's why the conversation starts with her voice. It's easier to frame her chatter as the story than to admit she's controlling the action. Other coaches played a subtler game. Mention her name because you have no choice. Then pivot. Balance the quote by steering attention to someone else. Frame it like a maybe, not a certainty. That's not respect, that's strategy. Acknowledge her impact, then bury it under qualifiers so it doesn't look like you're centering a rookie. But the tension leaks through. She's the first bullet point in the scouting report, even if the sound bite pretends otherwise. That's the pattern. Prepare for Caitlyn in private, minimize her in public. Every coach knows the plan starts with her, but when the mic is on, the words bend. Contact gets called normal. Physicality becomes subjective. The bumps and grabs after whistles get softened into effort. Fans aren't confused. They see the hits. They see the extra arms thrown her way. They see the whistles that swallow air. What's harder to miss is the refusal to say it plainly. That's not just hedging. That's an attempt to keep her impact smaller in the story than it is on the floor. Listen close to how the language shifts. 1 minute, it's prepare for Clark. The next, the subject changes to another guard. First sentence, unavoidable truth. Second sentence, damage control. That's not neutrality, it's pride. You can't admit one player bends your whole scheme, even though your scout is built around her. So the quotes wobble between respect and denial, and that wobble tells you more about the tension than the words themselves. Then came the roster talk. No debate, no pause, no second thought, a straight no. Not just about a name on paper, about momentum itself. That answer wasn't basketball, it was posture. A way to draw a line in public even when the games themselves told a different story. Fans noticed. They saw who was actually shaping possessions, who was being loaded up on, who was bending rotations. They also saw who refused to name it. This is where the conversation slipped under the microscope. Physicality and officiating. Coaches reached for words like subjective and emphasis when they wanted to buy time. They paired those words with disclaimers like best effort when they wanted to excuse the rough stuff.
I think everybody in this league is hard to beat. I think they're playing really well right now. I think they're a balanced team. They've got, I do want to give a shout out to Ari McDonald. I think she's done a tremendous job there. She's found a home and she's really elevated their group. Kelsey Mitchell is, I think, the fastest guard in the league in terms of off the dribble.
But listen carefully. Those same sentences included rejections of egregious hits after the whistle. Which one is it? The contradiction is obvious. No targeting, but a refusal to defend the worst bumps. Fans didn't need a translator. They saw the off-ball hits. They saw the afters. The denial didn't line up with what the cameras captured. And then came the louder dismissal. A Hall of Fame coach, not even inside the league, taking swings at Clark, her rookie class, and the fans who supported her. Wrong team, wrong skill set, not quick enough. That wasn't scouting, that was a takedown. It ignored what opponents had already admitted by their actions. They game plan around her, they push their pickup points out, they send extra help. Teams only do that for players they respect. The contradiction was glaring. The strongest words against her came from outside. Everyone kept building their schemes around 22. That mismatch told you everything. If Clark weren't a problem, there'd be no need to spend minutes tearing her down. You don't waste energy on someone irrelevant. The harder the outside voices tried to bury her, the clearer it became. She'd already shifted the order of operations, and that's what really stung. She wasn't waiting her turn. She was rewriting the line of succession in real time. Other coaches leaned on smaller tactics. One whistle here, one call there, lifted up as proof. A travel on her step back turned into a celebration, as if that erased the move from her arsenal. That isn't film study, that's grasping at a bailout. You don't erase a shot that punishes coverage with one whistle. The next clean version falls the same way, over the same contest. Calling it solved is easier than admitting you're still searching. And then came the claim about toughness. She doesn't like physicality. That's not scouting, it's disrespect. The clips show her taking hits and keeping the dribble, absorbing bumps and creating space, attacking pressure until the help cracks. If teams truly believe she hated contact, they wouldn't body her at the catch, send doubles early, and gamble with fouls just to throw her off rhythm. The actions betray the words.
No, you go in preparing for her to be there, and then you adjust accordingly. So I know they've just signed Ari McDonald back, and we'll see a lot of her tonight. So we'll get a good look at, what that might look like if she doesn't play for us. So, we have the benefit of watching them play tonight without her. But you go in preparing for Caitlyn to be on the floor.
They say she doesn't like it, but every scheme screams they're afraid she thrives in it. This is the classic dodge. Frame every mom as an exception. Call it a tough shot, file it under luck. Pretend it's a coin flip instead of a pattern. Coaches use that trick to keep the spotlight on their toughness instead of her skill. But fans aren't fooled. If she's the one taking the last look over and over again, that's not random. That's control. Minimizing it in the presser doesn't change who decided the possession. Others tried politeness as cover. Praise the balance. Mention the speed. Highlight the pieces around her instead of saying her name. That sounds neutral, but it's another dodge. Because the truth is, her gravity makes those pieces shine. The help leans to her side, and suddenly the fastest guard gets longer closeouts. The shooters get cleaner looks. The penetrators get wider lanes. Balance matters, but only because Caitlyn bends the defense first. Coaches can avoid saying it, but the tape doesn't. Post-game, the spotlight always finds her. Whether it's a big three, a collision at the rim, or a sideline stare, the clip loops across every screen. And when the Angel Reese Caitlyn Clark altercation hit review, all eyes turned to the bench for an explanation. Reporters asked assistant Tyler Marsh for his read. He paused, then offered 2 words: basketball play. That wasn't analysis, that was denial. Everyone saw the same angles. Everyone knew the difference between a legal contest and an altercation. Calling it a basketball play was a way to shrink the moment, to sand it down until it disappeared. But the moment didn't vanish. The possession still counted. Clark still had to answer it, and she did the way she always has, by playing through. That's been the theme all year. She takes the bumps, she hears the clipped quotes, she sees the downplayed contact, and then she answers with deep threes, with pocket passes, with finishes through traffic. She doesn't push back with words, she pushes back with possessions that flip outcomes. That's her rebuttal. And that's why the gap between what's said and what's played is so glaring. The words say she's not ready. The schemes say start with 22. The sound bites say she talks too much. The film shows her dictating tempo. The pressers call her shots tough. The scoreboard calls them daggers. The quotes may be hedged, but the game keeps telling the truth. Here's the irony. The resistance is making her bigger. Every clipped compliment, every polite dodge, every denial of contact, it all amplifies the spotlight. Coaches can try to shift the conversation, but Clark keeps dragging it back to the court. Every foul becomes a replay. Every smirk gets replayed twice. They tried to freeze her out of praise, and all they did was feed the storm. That's the twist they didn't plan for. The harder the league tries to sand her down, the more she grows. While quotes try to clip her story, the The box scores keep rewriting it. While some coaches posture in front of microphones, the fans watch her stack nights that matter. You can't shrink a player who keeps expanding the frame. And here's the core of it. She isn't just surviving the cold shoulder, she's thriving in it. Every time a coach says she's not ready, she closes a game. Every time a commentator questions her fit, she draws 2 defenders on a flare. Every time a phrase like tough shot gets tossed around, she drills another one from 27 feet. The pushback is fuel. If you still need clarity.
So we just have a long way to go. I don't think it's about star players. I know, I mean, I get the nature of the Caitlyn Clark, the popularity and eyes on. So everyone's watching. A lot of people are watching that never watched before. I don't believe Caitlyn Clark is targeted in any way. It's a great player. You're going to get teams' best efforts. I don't agree, with egregious contact and things that occurred after.
Stop listening to the sound bites and watch the rotations. See who pulls over early. See who refuses to leave her side. See who gets the last clean look. Those aren't coincidences. That's respect coaches won't say out loud, but players reveal with every adjustment. And the truth is simple. She doesn't need their approval. She doesn't need the qualifiers. She doesn't need asterisks attached to her name. She lets the game speak, and it speaks in a way that's impossible to edit. Start with 22, pay the cost. Or she decides the ending. That's Caitlyn Clark in the WNBA, not just a rookie, not just a scorer. She's the center of the plan, the subject of every adjustment. The player, coaches minimize in public while bracing for in private. You can hear the disrespect in the words, but you can see the truth in the possessions. And in this league, the possessions always win. What makes Caitlyn Clark stand out isn't just the points or the highlight passes. It's how she forces everyone, teammates, opponents, coaches, even the league itself, to react. Some call her a spark. Some call her a problem. Some try to dismiss her entirely. But the film calls her what she is. The player you start with, the player who bends the game, the one who keeps proving she belongs. The words might spin, but the court never lies. And that's Caitlyn Clark, the rookie who won't be minimized. If you felt this breakdown, make sure to hit subscribe and like so you don't miss the next one. We've got more stories coming.